Hello, Lori. So here is the drawing that you did, I believe, with your Lamy. And it looks like you're using the pen plus maybe some ink wash to get some of the areas here. But anyway, the Lamy is a steel-nibbed fountain pen that doesn't have very much variation. The line you get is the line the nib makes. Now this is a Parker 51, but it sort of explains that you have one kind of line, and when you want to make a darker line, you sort of go over it, to make it thicker, which is a perfectly fine way of drawing. But one of the things that I love about fountain pens from 1900 to let's say 1940 or so, is that many of them, not all of them, but many of them have a nib that is flexible. And what that allows you to do, let me find one that has ink in it, what that allows you to do is by applying different levels of pressure on the pen, you get a thicker or thinner line. And one of the things that you talked about your pen drawings, I think you thought they were too dark. And dark is good, but maybe you can lighten up areas that you think are dark by applying a lighter touch. So I'm going to quickly, a much smaller drawing than maybe you did here, but I'm trying to make it so I can draw it without problem here and do it quickly. So you have your buildings in the foreground, and you have your buildings in the background, the spires and the woodwork and the bricks and the roof line and the arches down here. And so when I use a pen like this one, this is a pen from 1920 or so, I'm able to apply very light strokes. Just the weight of the pen is making a line. So the strokes that I'm doing very, very lightly are going to be the ones that I choose to do here in the distance, suggesting sort of atmospheric perspective. And looks like you may have actually drawn this standing outside this medieval building. I'm looking at your rendition on a iPad, so I don't get the reality of the situation. I don't get the honking horns, the tourists, the church bells, and all of that romantic stuff that you're getting. I'm sitting here and I'm not getting that at all. So here's sort of the same thing. So anyway, so I continue to draw, and I'm, you are doing in your drawing, you're trying to show value, shadow by cross-hatching, and textures by drawing in a few bricks here and there. But let me show you why a pen like this is fun. And I'm going to just zoom in a little bit more here. I guess I'm zoomed in as far as I can get. With a pen like this, you can press down and get a really thick line. Now, your building doesn't have that big mark on it, but pretend it does. So I'm just showing you that by pressing down, light touch, heavy touch, just by pressure. So I'm able to, in the foreground or in the areas that are darker, I can, press down rather than drawing over it, like you had done, where you take the pen and you draw the line over what you just drew to make it thicker. I just draw it with one stroke, but I apply more pressure. I see that I forgot all sorts of little lattice windows here. And then I've got the arches down here with the alternating bricks. Also, what's fun with these pens of this era, from the 1900s to the 40s, and they sort of stopped when ballpoint pens came out, is no two pens are going to be alike. They're all going to be slightly different, and they weren't. You might be able to order some of them by describing, you know, they're labeled, you know, medium, broad, you know, stub, that kind of stuff. But most of them were no two that even were marked the same were the same, because there were different people making them, and they're all finished by hand and tempered differently. So no two are alike, even if you think they are, because they were. I'm putting this little shadow bit in a different spot. I'm doing some architectural renovations on this castle here. So, and as you can see, when I make a big blob of ink, I get messy. But what else is new? So the very fine lines, then you can, you know, throw in as shadow. No need for ink washes. These lines are very, very thin. Zooming out again, so you can see that this drawing is only maybe 3 inches tall. But this is what a flexible nibbed pen can do. Now, where do you find one of these flexible nibbed pens, you ask? Is that what you're asking? I can hear you right now. You're saying, where can I find them? Well, you can do two ways. You can either develop that time machine and go back to 1928 and buy this pen, or you can go to on eBay. You can find them. Sometimes people sell them there. Sometimes you can go to a pen show and find them. And I also have many that I'm trying to sell. This is not meant to be a commercial, but I think it's important for you to try out a real pen. I mean, the actual pen in front of you, so you can, you know, really feel how it works. So anyway, that's again how a flexible nib can work. So this is a Waterman pen from 1920, I don't know, 4 to 28 maybe, and it's almost 100 years old and still going strong. There's other pens that I have that are, this is a Schaefer pen from the 30s. It has a very firm nib. It goes from, rather than 1 to 10 like the one I just showed you, it goes from 1 to maybe 2 if it's lucky. It's very firm. But it also has a very, if you don't press down at all, it has a very fine line. So they're all different. So, ta-da! And I've got lots of pens, and these are all pens, and pens everywhere. So, enjoy!